Over the past few years, we've been told that video game addiction is a rising problem, and in many ways, it is a rising problem. We have many young men who are opting to play video games most times of the day, rather than just fucking sit around and work all day. And there is a reason for this, and I dare to say that video game addiction is not the problem, but rather is the outcome of the issue at hand. What is that issue at hand? What does it mean if you think you are addicted to video games? And what if you actually are? Because there is a difference between thinking you are and what you actually are addicted to. The first big thing, what is the actual problem that causes video game addiction? And this is seriously a thing, because the problem itself is not video game addiction. Video game addiction is a symptom of a bigger problem, and that bigger problem is alienation, it's isolation, loneliness, purposelessness. Purposelessness? Is that the word? I don't know. But there is a serious rising number of depression cases, people who are mentally ill, people who are getting sick in many different ways, not because of video games, because they play video games all the time, but just because of the way that society has been slowly turning for the past, I don't know, since the 1980s, I would argue. And it is becoming a bigger problem, and video games just happen to be a symptom, a solution to the problem. Because let's face it, normal life, the thing that you do day in to day out is fucking boring. I'm an HVAC installer. Do you think that I want to go to work every day and fucking do what I do? Absolutely not. But I do it because I believe that this, what I'm doing now, my passion of YouTube, will work out. And I believe that doing what I do now is only simply meant to keep me afloat, that being HVAC, until this dream that I have comes true. And I really do believe that. And I think I can actually fucking do it. But here's the reality for many people. If you have a dream, and let's say maybe doing HVAC is your fucking dream. However, there are so many things in your way that let's say maybe you have a great design for a furnace or an air conditioner, or even, something smaller. Maybe you have a way to revolutionize the paper industry. You'll never fucking get there in today's climate. You'll never fucking get there because anybody who's at the top remains at top, and then when they fucking die, their kids get to be at top. There's no way for you to move ahead. And I hate the stupid fucking notion that is just you guys remember the phrase "okay boomer"? Here's the literal reason why that meme exists: is these old fuckers telling you, oh, if you just work hard, you can do anything you want. It's like, really? Then why the fuck are you working at the age of 60 fucking 9? You haven't gotten anything done for yourself. You live in a fucking house because it was easier for you to get that. Younger people don't own property because it's harder for them to do so. Younger people aren't buying homes outright because it's hard. They don't have enough money. They don't make as much money as you fucking did. And I'm not even talking about, oh, you made $4 an hour, I only make 8. No. That is even with inflation accounted for. I am making less because of the price of goods, because of the things that are going on in the world. The price of a house now is insane. You look on these TV shows like HGTV, where these couples just have tons and tons of money where they can just spend millions of dollars on a house, and you're thinking to yourself, holy fuck, what would I even do with $1 million? I sure shit wouldn't buy a house in this place because God knows it'd be expensive as fuck to keep. And this is all just a part of the bigger issue. People are not happy, and this is going up. Suicide rates among young men are climbing at a very alarming rate. A lot of people are just ending it, and suicide is a fucking terrible thing. It's, again, a symptom of a larger disease. What we're seeing and what we're witnessing is late-term capitalism, the failure of capitalism. And I'm not saying that communism or even socialism is the solution. I'm not saying that at all. I don't mean to get into economics here. However, I think it's inevitable when you talk about video game addiction. And the solution to this, I don't really fucking know. I'm not smart enough to tell you that the solution to this is just saying, oh, we should give incentives to people to do this and that. I'm not a fucking economist. I'm not even going to try to go there. However, I am going to point out the issues, and once we all point out the issues to each other, maybe that's when the smarter people who actually know how to fix these things can actually talk about it. However, what you have now, like I said earlier, are these people who want better things in their lives. People like me who genuinely want to do good things. If I could right now, I would be a fucking movie director. I would tell the greatest of stories. I'd be a novelist. I'd do so many things with my life, but I know that's literally impossible in today's climate. I could not do it, just simply because of what's around me. And I don't have the people around me to do it. I don't have the people, I don't have the knowledge, I don't have the money to do it. And then it's just a circumstance of what I am born in. And I'm not saying that everybody should or will have the access to do these things. However, there are going to be compromises in life. You should still die knowing that you did something good with your life. I can't possibly imagine that someone who's a fucking factory worker for 40 years thought to themselves on their deathbed, oh, thank God, I did something good for the overall humanity, or even in my local community. I made fucking... I packaged water bottles. That was my job. That was me. I did that. Was I really necessary to the world? I could have easily been replaced, and that's the fucking horror of it, is that anybody working in today's climate is easily replaceable. Even someone like me, an HVAC installer, I'm easily replaceable, and that's no more obvious than when you realize that dumb fucks get hired. I am a dumb fuck. I came straight out of high school and started working at an HVAC company. That is proof to me that anybody who's experienced can be dropped off or lost and then be replaced by someone like me. And that this job I have, while I'm very grateful for it, I am replaceable, and I am expendable. They can lose me and find somebody else at the drop of a hat. So if I choose to leave, it doesn't actually make a statement to the company. It just says, well, we gotta find somebody else who's willing to work for us. And keep in mind, I like my job. I like the people I work with. You know, I genuinely do. But it's not to say I wouldn't be happier doing something else. And I know this is true for almost everybody I fucking work with. I bet if I talk to people about what their dreams in life are, there are several people at my shop who would love to be musicians. I bet they'd love to go out and see the fucking world, but they just simply can't do it because they don't have the connections, they don't have the money, they don't have the fucking time anymore because they've spent all this time just working. Where they were in my age, they weren't in the same position as me. You know, they didn't have the same sort of drive. Some of them already had kids at my age. You know, they kind of set themselves up for failure and that sort of things. Not saying that kids will be a reckoning of your dreams. However, I think this all kind of goes to show you why people fucking love video games. Because all these things I just described, not being able to move up, doing the same fucking thing every day, you know, like fucking packaging water bottles, which I granted would probably be done by machines nowadays, but all these things, there's so many jobs like this. I am actually kind of lucky in that my job is actually so entertaining. You know, you wouldn't think about it, installing air conditioners and furnaces actually has a lot of variety to it, and there's a lot that goes into it. So, luckily for me, there was a change in the system constantly. There's always new things being added on. We're always finding out new ways to technology, but I mean, honestly, how many times can you fucking, you know, write up documents and it be different every fucking time, you know? I feel like being a fucking janitor is pretty goddamn boring. Not too much gets changed about that day in and day out. So these people that are there at these positions, they've been working all their lives. What have they got? They've got a small house, they got their kids, and that might be it. And maybe that's what they're satisfied with. However, there are an increasing amount of young people who have even less than that. They have a tiny ass apartment like mine. However, they feel even worse than I do because they can't pursue the dreams that they want because they have even less money than me. There are people out there who are suffering like crazy because they don't have the opportunities to do the things that even I get to do. I am so fortunate that I get to go to work every fucking day. You know, there are so many people right now without jobs because of COVID, and even before COVID, people were working. Yeah, sure, unemployment was at an all-time fucking low, and that's great to hear. However, when you realize that employment's at an all-time low and people are still barely fucking scraping to get by, people living paycheck to paycheck, you realize that something is fundamentally wrong with the system. So then it becomes glaringly obvious as to why people fucking love video games. And why people love movies. It's the same reason why people love sports. It's the same reason why people love any form of entertainment. Because real life as it is right now is fucking dull. It's the same shit day in and day out. You might go to work every fucking day at Walmart. You come home, you fucking sit there and you watch NCIS all night. That might be your fucking thing, you know? And more power to you. However, there might be someone who gets to go to fucking work maybe for a couple hours because their daddy fucking made a business for them. They don't have to do shit. All of that stuff is already taken care of because the people below them know how to do it because they're never gonna fucking get to the top like you are. You own this business because your dad owned the business and created the business himself. He worked hard, but now you just fucking sit in his wake trying to do the same shit he was. And granted, you have all the knowledge you need because your father fucking taught it to you. You're not actually working. You're not creating anything new. And even in that position, it's gotta be fucking boring because you're not the creator of the company anymore. It was your fucking dad that did it. And you have the same shit, and it's going to be a cycle of people who aren't happy. This is true. You know, you look at even rich people; they're not happy. They are plagued with many of the same mental illnesses that even poor people are. So it's not even an issue of class. It is to an extent, but it's an issue of just our lives become more pointless the more we look at them, and it's because of the things that we do. Video game addiction is not the problem; it is a symptom of the problem. Again, people escape to these other worlds. Why do you think people like me love Elder Scrolls so much? I mentioned before they like games like Dark Cloud, games like Minecraft, where I genuinely feel like I am somewhere more interesting. Because real life is dull, and it always has been. And back in the day, we used to live off the fucking land. Humans had to survive. We had to struggle to survive. Real life, I would argue, was more interesting. There was a lot more danger. It certainly wasn't as good. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that we should all go back to an archaic form of living, in which we had to fight for our food. Don't get me wrong, there are many benefits to modern society, and I'm very grateful for them. Like the fact that I can go to a hospital, you know, if I get hurt, and get healed fairly quickly, and with not the best payment system of it, but still, the fact that I can even do that alone is insane. The fact that certain medications exist, the fact that vaccines are even a thing is astounding, and it's an example of how amazing our society has gone and how far we've come. But in that, we have certainly lost something of ourselves. You see, humans have been a big fan of competition. This is what capitalism has largely worked over the past, well, I don't fucking know how long have markets even existed. The idea of buying and selling goods has existed for a long fucking time, you know? And then the idea of doing that independently from any form of government has also been done for a long time, you know? Capitalism has predated the United States, of course. This idea goes back a long time. And what capitalism does, when done correctly, it generates competition. And competition is something that humans thrive off of. In competition, we find hierarchies, we find status, we find social placement. You know, in competition, if you have the biggest farm way back in the fucking days when we were all farmers living down by the river, competition is what drove you to be the hierarchy, the highest person, the top of the food chain, the big macho man who got the most money, or in that case, at that time, probably be like little gold fucking coins and rocks as your form of currency. If you had the most food, you controlled the most people, you had the most power, and there was always competition to drive that power. But nowadays, we have this problem where you are born into a society where you already have all the money, you already have all the power. There is no way for someone below you to get up at all. And even rarely when people do, it's because they find their way into a market that has not been tapped into yet. They create the same issue over and over and over again. And it is a serious problem. And what you have are people now who say, fuck this system. I'm never going to be able to do anything good with my life, so why should I even fight? Why should I even participate in the system that has broken me, that has been breaking down for generations? Why should I even bother to go to work every day if it just means that I'll come back home and fucking feel exhausted and all I want to do is fucking sleep? It's the same problem I had with high school. It's the same problem that many kids have with school. You see now that a lot of kids would rather fucking stay up till 5 a.m. and play fucking video games all night because they have to go to school every fucking day and sit there and be bored and learn shit they don't want to learn. Here's the thing about school. The times that I felt most rewarded when to learn anything was not when I was sitting in a fucking classroom learning about goddamn chemistry, okay? I didn't give a fuck, you know? At the time, I was more interested in whose fucking porn I was gonna look at tonight, you know? But the things that interested me the most were the things that I would go home and look up and learn on my own. You know, stupid things like fucking game theory, back when game theory actually used to be about science and not fucking Five Nights at Freddy's, back when it was actually about learning shit. It was genuinely interesting because I could apply it to the things that I was interested in. For example, game theory did a video on Call of Duty Ghosts when they did a little video about the little fucking rods that would come down from the satellite weapon things. I think it was like Odin and Loki. Yeah, basically metal tungsten rods would shoot down at the plane, make big explosion, equivalent to that of like a nuclear bomb. Maybe not a nuclear bomb, but a big bomb. And this kind of shit was interesting because I could learn something new about science and genuinely attach it to something that I loved, which at the time was Call of Duty Ghosts, because I was a weird 13-year-old, don't judge me. And this kind of shit is what kids love knowing. You get kids who want to learn because you teach them and you apply it to things that they fucking love. And this is how you fix part of the education system, is getting kids actively involved and actively wanting to learn. Because here's the thing. I'm going to quote Neil deGrasse Tyson here. I don't know where the fuck he got it from, but he said it on Joe Rogan. We teach kids for the first 4 years of their life to learn to walk and talk. And then for the next fucking 14, we tell them to sit down and shut up. You know, that's it. That's what we fucking do. We put these kids in school and they are forced to shut up and listen and obey. But there's no leniency to this. There's no way out of this. And people, here's the thing. Like, I have actually had conversations with people I work with who say, oh, these kids get fucking mental health days from school. Well, back in my day, you know, I didn't get that. It's like, hold on for a fucking second. Do you not realize the fucking trouble that comes to school day in and day out? There's no competition in school. There's no way to move ahead in school. Your grades are better, but what fucking competition is that? And ironically, the classes where I felt the happiest were classes where there was real competition. Places like band. Now, technically in any actual band, you wouldn't actually do this, but high school is different and it's a common misconception people do. But in band, there are certain chairs for different instruments. For example, there is a first chair, second chair, and third chair for saxophone players, trumpet players, any certain group of instruments. Now, technically speaking, this isn't a ranking order. It's more or less who gets the high notes, who gets the solo, and who gets the low parts. However, that's not how my high school treated it. It was genuinely a competition. So if you were better at your instrument, you were likely to get a higher chair, because if you could hit the higher notes better, you could do a better job. And technically that makes sense. It is a competition, and there was also this sort of stigma around being a low player. Now, granted, a lot of times it was also based on seniority. So if you were a senior, you were more likely to get a higher chair just simply because you've been there longer. However, that does not mean that there weren't seniors who were at low chairs. And if you were, it was almost like shame, because you've been there longer. You should know how to do these things better. And that's the beauty of competition, because there's nothing that hurts worse than getting knocked down a chair. Granted, I never fucking had it happen, but I could see it happen to other people. You know, even people in my own trumpet section, watch them get knocked down a peg, and you could see how that fucking hurt them. But then these people never learn. You know, some people never fucking learn. They never realize that the competition, and if they genuinely care more, it'll do better for them. And granted, this might be because the person I'm thinking of maybe didn't care so much about band, maybe they didn't care as much as I did. I have a huge drive for music, but even then, you see that even in environments like school, competition matters. This is why high school sports are so fucking important. It's because people love seeing that shit. You know, your parents, if you're a kid in high school, love watching you play sports because it's the same shit they did, because they love competition. They love watching you get excited because it's amazing. They love that shit. And they want you to have these moments as a kid because they realize that someday you're going to get into the fucking workforce and deal with the same stupid, boring, dull shit that they have to deal with day in and day out. So they want to come support you in your time of adolescence, because someday it'll all be fucking gone and you'll be working all the time. And that's the sad reality of it. And this extends to other activities. Don't get me wrong. Even the chess club is that important, you know? Chess club is a sport in of itself, you know? It's a competition. You're trying to see who's the best thinker, who's the best strategist. This is all indicative of competition. And people now feel like the game is so unfair, that game being capitalism, that they don't even want to fucking play anymore. You know, and they feel that the game is rigged against them, because in some ways it is. And just the natural setup of it is rigged against them. And this is the fucking downfall of it. Because when you have little Tommy, who was born into a house, you know, his parents got, they stayed together, they haven't divorced, so there's not a significant money loss there. They made good financial decisions. You know, their parents before them were middle class, and middle class back then actually fucking meant something better. So maybe then, you know, their parents have just enough money to get them through college. You know, they can get this kid through college with minimal amounts of debt. So this kid isn't, you know, tens of thousands, sometimes even hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. And this kid can go out and go into the world, buy a house at the age of 25, sometimes even younger, and do relatively well. And then you have little Ethan. Ethan was born to a single-parent household. He has never had an opportunity to get any kind of good job. His mother would fucking skip meals for him. He has seen struggle. He has had to help his parents pay for bills, or I guess in this case his one parent, and this is the sad reality he lives in. He sees that person at top. He knows he can never fucking get there. The odds of him getting there are so fucking low, you know, because he's so detached. They're living in two completely different fucking worlds. So what does he do instead? Instead of trying to fight better, do better for himself, because he knows that the reality is he'll never fucking get up there to that person's level, or I guess Tommy's level in this case, he just fucking sits back and says, fuck it. I'm playing goddamn Minecraft all night with my fucking 2 friends. That's all we do. We could get my Xbox and we're gonna fucking play Minecraft, you know? And that's just what life is for. You know, that's what life is for a lot of people. I mean, I don't mean to, like, I'm gonna call out my brother here. My brother, he goes to work every day and goes home and play video games. And granted, I'm sure he fucking loves it. But for me, I'd fucking hate that. And there's the thing about that. A lot of people do this. And this is fine. You can do this. This is absolutely fine. There's no shame in doing this, because at least then you're still going out and you're making ends meet and you're doing something with your life. That's important to understand. That's an important distinction. However, when you get people who are just sitting down playing video games all fucking day, they realize that the game, they don't want to fucking play it anymore. They realize that the game they're playing is fucking stupid and they hate it. And this goes to so many of the problems, okay? Because video game addiction, again, is a symptom. It is not the problem itself, okay? Would you rather try to fight the symptom of your insomnia, or would you rather try to fight the insomnia itself? You know, insomnia, a lack of sleep, can cause a lot of things. You know, irritation, you can get more upset easily. So would you rather try to fight your irritation problems by going into anger management, or would you just rather learn how to fucking fall asleep better? This is the source of the problem. Instead of attacking video games, you should fucking attack the problem, which seems to be the way our society is going. We're losing this identity that we have of ourselves. We're losing this sense of, oh, I am me and I have a sense of worth. We're losing our sense of self-worth because all we fucking do every day is the same shit that we've been doing our whole lives. You see, instead of fucking growing up, working hard like the kids did back in the early 20th century and late 19th century, and even before then, all through human history before then, instead of working hard, getting a minimal education, they go out and fucking work in the world, hunt and kill things, we just fucking sit around in a room all day, unsure of what our purpose is, and we're told that this is all for the better good, and if you ever try to fucking stand up against the system, you just get fucking put right back down. And in places like California, your parents could get fucking arrested if you try to beat the system by skipping school. It's fucking insane. Truancy laws are stupid, honestly, but that's not the point of this video. My point is that we are put into a system, younger people like myself, are put into a system where there is no escape. You are put into the system from the time you are fucking 5 years old, sometimes 4, and this is what you're born with. And there's a reason why so many kids, so many college kids, so many high school kids get out of fucking high school, they don't know what they're doing with their lives. Because school is all they've ever fucking known. All they've ever known how to do is just sit down and shut the fuck up and listen. And that's it. And a lot of these kids turn to problems, things like substance abuse, drinking, drugs, heroin, fucking weed, anything you fucking think of. This is all a problem. There are many kids in high school who have the same issue, partly because teenagers are fucking crazy and will do anything, you know, to catch a high of some sort, but also because they're realizing that their life is going to be incredibly boring because they see what their parents are fucking doing for their entire lives and they think, oh, that shit's fucking boring. So I want to try to spice it up before I'm forced to do the same shit. And some kids don't even fix that problem. They just always try to spice it up with the fucking drugs, with the goddamn alcoholism, and it doesn't stop. I know people who are almost 30 who still go out and party every fucking night, you know, and no shame to them if that's what you want to fucking do. Live it up, dude. That's your fucking thing in life. More power to you. But you know that there is someone else who, well, one person might be able to do that healthily. You can go out and party healthily and, you know, still live a healthy lifestyle. There's someone else right now who does the same shit and is fucking falling. They're failing. They're getting sick, and they hate themselves for what they're doing. They feel like their life is completely worthless because they've done nothing with it. They feel like this whole idea of existence is worth nothingness because we live in a time period where everyone is so isolated because there's so many of us doing all the same stupid shit all the time that there's no sense of individuality. That is what we are left with, and that is the sad truth of what life has become. And frankly, this is one of these things that I've thought about a lot. Even in high school, when I was just a fucking 16-year-old, I cared more about having sex that night than fucking talking about this shit. But even then, I cared more about thinking about this shit than I did my fucking homework. I would procrastinate because I realized to myself at some point that, okay, what is going to be the reward that I get for doing this? Is it going to be worth more than the effort that I'm going to have to put in? And the answer was usually fucking no. Oh, you passed the class. Good job. You got a fucking A. I knew that I was never going to go to college. The odds of me going to college are very slim because, number one, I had a divorced family, so the money was pretty fucking tight. And government help can only go so far. Secondly, I hated school. I already fucking hated it. So the fact that, or the idea that I would want to go and keep doing it for years after was pretty fucking absurd to me. And I always thought to myself that maybe I'll go to music school, which I might go to music school because I genuinely like music and it is something I'm genuinely interested in. Now, even in high school, I would sit there and think about these things because this was interesting to me because I could see it happening all around me. I could see kids all around me falling into the same traps that many kids before them had, you know? And back in the day, I feel like it wasn't just kids falling into a sense of, into a habit of drugs and alcohol because they were purposeless, but rather because it was the cool thing to do. Remember back in the 90s or in the 2000s when they were like, don't smoke, kids, it's not cool? No. Nowadays kids just smoke because their life is fucking boring as hell and it's the only alternative other than Fortnite. It's depressing. This is what we set up our kids with. I have said I'm going to homeschool my kids, you know. I'm going to either do some kind of online schooling or I'm going to fucking raise them myself and find a school that is appropriate for them because fuck public school. Fuck the way the system works. It's terrible. And I hope to God that by the time I have children, I can have enough money to do that. And I hope that I'll be a fucking beneficiary of the system so that my kids can also be a beneficiary of the system. And I hope to God that people can learn and people can do better and change the system so that it works for all of us. I wish that these goals I have in my mind, I hope that other people can attain them. I want people to raise their children in better environments, in a better environment that I had. I don't want my kids going to the same shitty fucking school I did. Don't get me wrong, I love my high school, love the people there, but it isn't just my high school, it's the system itself, it is the school itself, it is what it props you up to be. We're not teaching kids to fucking be independent thinkers anymore. That's not what we're doing. We're teaching kids that it's more worth your time to fucking cheat, and I saw this a lot. You would not fucking believe how many kids would cheat in fucking college classes, in like, you know, any kind of college. It is outstanding, astonishing really, how many fucking people will cheat, and it's so easy to fucking do, and so many teachers don't care because the teachers do the same fucking thing day in and day out, and they're fucking sick of it too, and they realize that they're only there to help these kids get in fucking debt because college degrees are becoming more and more worthless, and this is just the fucking epitome of what life has become, and it's sad. So the question I ask of you is, are you fucking happy with your daily job? Are you happy working that 9-to-5 job at the fucking office? Or are you gonna sit there and fucking do something about it? You see, I had this epitome like a fucking month ago. I think about mid-November, it hit me. I've been living in my apartment that I live in now for about a month. I have had, keep in mind, I've still had no guests over other than my family, but like, I have had nobody over. I was feeling this huge sense of loneliness, this huge sense of emptiness. I had online friends, I talked to people, but that's not what loneliness is. Loneliness is not having somebody around you, because I could go to work, talk to people, I could go uptown, go to the gas station, talk to people, but fuck, I was still fucking lonely. And it's the same reason why you see people in big cities are lonely, despite the fact that they're around people constantly. Places like New York have a lot of lonely fucking people, a lot of isolation issues. And this is not because there's, you know, people around you that you figure that they would be easier to solve. This is not because of anything that they're doing wrong, it's the system itself. People are pushed into such a sense where they work all fucking time and they're mentally exhausted by the time the week is over. The reason that you have 40-hour work weeks is not because it's what's optimal for you, it's what's optimal for the business. That is why it's become the norm. Honestly, I have always told myself that humans would be so much more productive if we worked 4 days a week instead of 5. And I am dead ass serious about this. If we had 3 days off to support our own goals, it would be fucking outstanding. And here's the thing about this. There are ways to do this, and there are easy ways to do this. For example, let's say you have a company of 24 people, right? Okay, so let's say you make fucking 12 of them work Monday through Thursday, right? Or maybe even you could divide it up in some way. And then you have the other 12 working a different side. And then, you know, if you need to make up slack from there, you can adjust the system as it works. But that's just an idea, because then you have split your labor force up into 2 sections, right? So you have people who work different hours. And this is not part-time. Make this full-time. This would still technically be a full-time job, but there's just now different shifts of that same full-time job. So whereas you give people, instead of 2 days off, you give them 3, and you still have the same amount of work being done because you're open all 7 fucking days of the week. That is maybe a flawed solution, but still a solution at its face value. Maybe paper thin, but if someone can make adjustments to that, you can see where I'm going with this. If people have more time to want to pursue the things they want to pursue, they'll feel better about themselves. They'll feel happier. They'll come to work more productive. And that's the thing. That people will say, it's not about you, you know? You don't get to, not everyone gets to be the fucking radio star or the rock star they want to be. There's still got to be people to fucking package those water bottles, you know? There's always going to be that person, right? But if you give people the tools and the time necessary to pursue their fucking dreams, and then they come back to work, they'll be happier. Because here's the thing about the labor force. There's always more people coming in. There's always people giving birth to more fucking kids, because people are always popping babies because sex is fucking fun. Let's be real here. So you're always gonna have people to do these jobs. For the most part, you know, some jobs might get taken over by machines, which honestly at this point might be a good thing, because nobody wants to fucking do those jobs and they're unfulfilling, right? Now that does have the problem of people won't have jobs, so there will be no more jobs for people to get, and people will just suffer, and that is a serious, real problem. However, you will find that if you give people more time off, they'll be much more happy coming into work, because you've had this mental break. You've had a break from the fucking system, and that is why vacation days are so important. And then here you are, the fucking government and the goddamn businesses you work for are trying to shorten that amount of time as much as they possibly can, because you're not productive enough. If you're not efficient to them, they don't give a fuck about you. Now granted, I work for a very good company, and they are very fucking nice. I mean, you can give any reason to be off, and they will give it to you, and I'm super fucking lucky to have that. These people offer me health insurance, dental, vision, you know, life insurance, and I even have some kind of legal thing. If I ever get into legal trouble, I have some kind of insurance for that too. I can't remember what it's called. Fuck me. But fuck, I'm so fucking lucky. You know how many people don't have that shit? You know how many people go to the fucking hospital and they're fucking scared about what the fucking bill's gonna be? I'm so lucky, you know, that I have primary insurance through my work and then secondary insurance through my parents. I am so lucky. And even in some ways, I'm unfortunate, because, you know, the secondary insurance always does so much, and so does the primary insurance. And that's just a problem with the fucking healthcare system in general. But you see now that if people are more likely to be productive, and if they're given the time to be productive, they'll feel better. They'll feel better about themselves. They'll want to do more shit. You ever notice that during the weekend, you come home on a Friday night, all you want to fucking do is party, and then you wake up Saturday, you fucking regret that, so you just want to fucking veg out all the fucking time. And Saturday might be your one productive day of work, you know? You might wake up Saturday after Friday night, you think, all right, I got a little bit too hammered Friday night, but you know what? I'll make today productive. I'll clean the house. I'll do something on the house. And then you get to fucking Sunday, now you're tired because you fucking cleaned the house all day. Now you don't want to fucking do anything because you're fucking tired. So you veg out Sunday. It is the Sabbath. You fucking relax. You go to church, you sit at home, you do whatever. But then guess what? You can't stay up late, and the whole time Sunday you're just fucking sitting there vegging out, but you're stressed out because you know work's right around the fucking corner. Because you know you gotta go back to work again in less than fucking 8 hours, and you hate it because you don't want to fall asleep, because you don't want tomorrow to be there. And that's just the fucking sad reality of what life is. It's the sad reality of life has become. And this didn't used to be the case. You fucking talk to people who were in their prime in the 50s and 60s, and sure, they go to work every fucking day, but they come home and they can afford things like a fucking car. They can afford things like their kids' college fucking education, because it was genuinely cheaper. It was genuinely easier to get these things. Now, granted, there was a time before that, let's say the late 1800s, where there was no minimum wage, where you literally couldn't do that. Because back in the 1950s and 60s, all you fucking boomer conservatives, believe it or not, the government was more invested in its economy and cared more about its people. Isn't that fucking crazy how that shit works out? If you care more about your people, better shit happens. And this is again why people fucking want video games. And this has been, like, I think ever since 1980s, this has been a growing trend. You see people who have always been stigmatizing the fucking phrase gamer. All these kids fucking do is play video games all day. It's like, yes, they do. And it kind of sucks. You know, I wish the kids would get out and do things outside too, because the outside world is fucking beautiful in many ways. However, in some places, the outside world to people is a fucking city. It's the same fucking buildings, the same tall shit they've seen all their life. There's no beautiful nature to go explore. There's nothing. And they can't afford to leave. So what do? They turn to the virtual worlds where they can see the beautiful nature that isn't even fucking real. And this is why VR is so like appealing, because you can literally be somewhere else, and that is so enticing, because they live the same dull, boring lives day in and day out. And this is just the curse of fucking being alive right now. So what is the solution to video game addiction? Is it the solution to the world's problems, our problem with our economy? Is it the solution to loneliness? Because granted, there are many times that even when I'm involved with an online community, even my little fucking Minecraft community that I'm a part of, these are the closest friends I've had in years. These people understand me more than I think any real friend has, bar a couple, you know? And that's fucking crazy to say. You know, I am better related to people that I have never fucking met in real life than people I know around me, people I see every fucking day. And that's crazy to think about. So what is the solution? What are your personal experiences with video game addictedness, or addiction, my bad, wrong fucking word. So what are your experiences with it? What do you think the solution is? I'm very fucking curious to hear your thoughts. Yeah, this was a long ass rant. I'm done. I need to take a drink.